virtual luncheon. And I just want to do a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Again, as we have been in past webinars, we are in listen-only mode. And if you have questions, we'll definitely take those towards the end. And you can use the Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen to assist you in asking questions for us. I want to state that, like always, the mission for BOMA Nevada is that our organization promotes the professional growth and success of its members and their customers in the commercial real estate industry by creating and fostering an environment of excellence through partnership, advocacy, and education. And once again, I want to thank our BOMA Nevada Platinum sponsor for 2020, Cox Business. We always appreciate your support for our organization. Thank you. And our website sponsor, Community Vision, Rethinking Commercial Property Management. We also appreciate your support. In just a few moments, I'm going to turn it over to our webinar sponsor this month, which is RBM Building Services, Julie Farina, your contact person. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie for just a minute or two.
And if you can hear me, the host stopped it. Ah, there we are. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be the webinar sponsor for the BOMA lunch this month. OSHA is a very important association to us in the cleaning industry. Some people don't understand that we really have ties to OSHA due to safety concerns, and now currently with COVID, all of our employees are wearing masks when cleaning buildings. Our office staff is wearing masks, and any people coming in to interview in any of our hiring offices are wearing masks, and we are sanitizing buildings with the electrostatic if they've been tested with a positive COVID case. The other measures that RBM takes concerning OSHA safety measures is our primary responsibility is to protect our employees. So part of what our onboarding process is to have them fill out a safety orientation. They watch safety videos, fill out the orientation sheet, and then once they start their job, they have a safety orientation at that particular building. The same day they start, they clean with their manager or supervisor, and they receive instructions on how to do their job safely. Once they start their job, we'll have regular safety trainings throughout the year for each building, the higher risk buildings having safety trainings once a month with the employees. We have monthly supervisor training, and right now RBM is working on revamping our safety program. We're reviewing all of our buildings that we contract with, and we're making sure we've identified all areas of weakness and risk, and we're implementing new safety procedures and training. So we appreciate your business. Commercial janitorial is not all we do. We also do event and construction cleanup, as well as COVID disinfecting. Thank you.
Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Playing tricks on us. Too many people with the controls. Thank you so much, Julie. We really appreciate you being our sponsor this month. And like we always tell our members, please support our associate members. If you ever are looking for services, they're here to help support you. So if we can always give back by looking to partner businesses or services with our vendors, it's always a great benefit for both you and for them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Owen, and he's going to give us a couple of committee updates.
Thanks, Tina, and thanks, Julie, for sponsoring our webinar today. We really appreciate it. Glad to be here. Our first bit of news, of course, is about our committee. So we just want to remind you that joining committee is a great way to stay engaged with principals and other members. So if you're interested, please be sure to reach out for that. We did have a change with the golf committee. There is not going to be a golf event, but please go ahead and save the date. October 29th, there will be a fun alternative event that's in the works, and we will update you on that as we get more information. Next is about the Tobies. The Tobie Awards is coming up. It's the Tobie Awards Gala scheduled Saturday, February 20th, 2021 at the JW Marriott. Chris McGarry from Berkshire Hathaway Nevada Properties and the McGarry Group will be honored at the event with the 2020 Leadership Award. The theme will be Better Together. The committee is now accepting entries, and the entry fees will be waived. So that's very exciting. And then also, they do have a Tobie training workshop. So that way you can learn exactly what goes into submitting your building for the Tobies. And that's happening Wednesday, August 26th at 2:30 p.m. So mark your calendar for that. My last announcement is going to be about the Education Committee. Aspera is going to discuss membership, and she'll be introducing today's speaker. So with that said, as a reminder, there is a CMCP Exam Prep Made Easy course through BOMA.org. And CMCP stands for Certified Manager of Commercial Properties, in case you were wondering. The course satisfies the 30-hour requirement and helps prepare you for the exam, all in one step with one course. There's also 3 upcoming classes: Budgeting and Accounting on August 12th through the 14th, Law and Risk Management September 16th through the 18th, Ethics is Good Business on November 17th. These courses are offered both in person at 3800 Howard Hughes Parkway or virtually as necessary. The prices are $700 for BOMA Nevada members or $800 for non-members. And the registration deadline for the budgeting and accounting class is today. Okay, so if you haven't registered and want to take that class, you need to register today. For more information, you can visit bomanevada.org. Now, as promised, Farrah Carr is going to jump in for a membership committee update and to introduce today's speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to let you know that for property managers, if you are not currently a member, we have something very special going on. Normally, we have only the 15-4-12 starting in October. We're starting that now, and not only are we starting it early, we are also offering you the opportunity to join for the rest of this year and all of next year for that prorated amount. So property managers, if you're interested, please see me. We would love to have you. Next, I would like to introduce our speaker. Good afternoon, and thank you to BOMA Nevada for the opportunity to share one of our ATI talents today. I am proud to introduce Sean Pridy, who serves as ATI's Director of EHS Management. ATI enjoys a legacy of keeping safety at the center of our many core services in property damage mitigation and repair, having an excellent performance record built on superior training and diverse experience. Sean enjoys working prevention of adverse incidents and dealing with the challenges of regulatory compliance and recovery from mishaps. And without further ado, Sean.
Thank you, Farrah. I appreciate that. And I appreciate BOMA for allowing this, this today. One of the things that I hope as an objective is that you'll go away with some confidence and understanding what regulatory oversight is out there, and also have the courage to be confident and suffer through, if you ever have an inspection, in such a way that you're successful in the outcome. I'm going to share my screen now, and we'll get into a presentation that I prepared and see how we can get this going. I'm sorry for the delay. Just a moment here. I think we'll have it. There we go. Okay, very good. Now it jumped on me. Apologize for that. Here we go. So we have an agenda for today, and that agenda is to be prepared. And one of the things that we can expect is that with the visibility that COVID has had in the workplace and the many recommendations, how do they fit in a regulatory setting, particularly with regard to OSHA? Those obligations are to our employees, but they also can be extended to our occupants of the various buildings that we work in. One of the things that we'll look in at is how to communicate with our employees and with the general public at large, or our tenants. And then, of course, with regards to how to communicate with an OSHA official. One of the things that we want to do is kind of set the moment and have the expectations not only in advance, but set the moment with our guests, with our employees, and with perhaps an OSHA inspector. We want to make sure that we have a favorable outcome, and we can set the table to make sure that that happens. Naturally, through some of the hard knocks that others may suffer, or those that perhaps I've gone through, I hope today is a bit of soft learning. And then naturally, I will hope to give you some resources that you can reach out and get helps from others. Give you a little bit of background on myself. I started at a very early age in the oil field. I went on to college, and while I was doing that, worked in a machine shop setting, a factory setting. Did a little underwater welding and hard hat stuff in the oil field. Found my way into quality engineering in a laboratory, and ultimately into rocket motors and exciting things like that. Ultimately, I found myself attracted to risk management and property damage repair. And I've been in that industry now for roughly 28 years, sometimes sitting in the seat of acting as representative for either liability considerations, or in some cases, employee responses. So with that, a little context of my background, we'll move on and get into what's pertinent for you all. ATI, the company I work with, we have a footprint that is national, and we have offices in 10 different states. We have an office there in Henderson, and squarely, I hope to bring into context some of the current events that are apparent in Nevada itself. In order to kind of set the stage, I've prepared to take a little moment here for a video, and this video will be an OSHA product, and it talks about the on-site inspection process. So let me get this launched for you. My cursor, there we go.
OSHA's mission is to ensure the health and safety of America's workers. Enforcement plays an important role in the agency's efforts to reduce workplace injuries, illnesses, and fatalities. This video describes the general OSHA inspection process and the reasons for an inspection. OSHA conducts inspections based on imminent danger situations, worker fatalities, hospitalizations, amputations, or losses of an eye, worker complaints, referrals, targeted inspections aimed at specific high-hazard industries or individual workplaces, and follow-up inspections. Compliance safety and health officers, or compliance officers, are experienced, well-trained industrial hygienists and safety professionals. Once the compliance officer arrives on site and enters the facility, the inspection begins with the presentation of credentials. There are 3 basic parts to any OSHA inspection: the opening conference, the walk-around, and the closing conference. At the opening conference, the compliance officer will explain why OSHA is inspecting the workplace and describe the scope of the inspection, walk-around procedures, worker representation, and the need for worker interviews. The employer is asked to select a representative to accompany the compliance officer throughout the inspection. During the walk-around, the compliance officer will consult privately with individual workers. Common questions may include, how long have you worked for the company? Have you or anyone else been injured or had close calls on the job? Does the employer provide personal protective equipment? How often does the employer provide training, and what is the training composed of? Is there anything you would change to make working conditions safer? After the walk-around, the compliance officer holds a closing conference with the employer and designated representatives to discuss the findings, possible corrective procedures, and reasonable timelines for correction. The compliance officer also discusses potential courses of action an employer may take following an inspection, as well as available consultation services. Following the OSHA inspection, the compliance officer will put together a report based on what was discussed or apparent violations. The information is sent to the area director, who determines whether or not a citation is issued. If a citation is issued, the employer has 15 days to take action, such as requesting an informal conference with the area director to discuss any issues and address the penalties, or contesting the citation. A safe workplace benefits everyone. OSHA uses both enforcement and compliance assistance to achieve this shared goal. Ensuring compliance with OSHA standards is an integral part of the agency's mission to keep workers safe and healthy. That's why OSHA is working to give employers the knowledge and tools they need to comply with their obligations and provide safety information to workers. OSHA's on-site consultation program offers no-cost and confidential assistance to small and medium-sized businesses. The program helps businesses identify workplace hazards, provides advice for compliance with OSHA standards, and assists in establishing and improving safety and health programs. OSHA Training Institute education centers also offer training courses designed for workers, employers, and managers on safety and health hazard recognition and abatement at convenient locations nationwide. For more information about OSHA inspections and compliance assistance resources, please visit OSHA.gov or call 800-321-OSHA. That's 800-321-6742. This video and content is not a standard or regulation, and it creates no new legal obligations. The content is advisory in nature, informational in content, and is intended as a compliance assistance tool for employers in providing a safe and healthful workplace.
Well, what I hope you got out of that is just the context of how an inspection might actually occur. But I want to start with a little bit of jurisdiction, of understanding that OSHA is focused on private sector workplaces. They do not have jurisdiction in federal properties, for instance, military bases and postal services. Even on board an aircraft that's in operation, they do not have jurisdiction. So if you're one of those industries, you would be looking at the federal OSHA arms, or perhaps you're exempt from OSHA inspections altogether. It's important to understand that there are different reasons why OSHA might be triggered to come out to a workplace. And indeed, as COVID is of particular concern, and we're in a national emergency pandemic, OSHA has been restricted, just like other businesses, from some of their normal activities to what might be considered focused activities. And so where targeted industries right now at the height of OSHA's interest is hospitals and care facilities, making sure that all of the elements of a safe process and processes are in place in those facilities particularly. Now, they might actually be boots to the ground in those kind of facilities and showing up. So if you're managing any of those kind of places, you want to be particularly prepared for such a visit. Now, they also might respond to complaints, and that activity is ongoing as well. They obviously might have injuries that actually occur. They might get a referral, for instance, from another authoritative agency, fire department, or perhaps a hospital when somebody has been injured in some way, and they may wish to investigate those. And so incidents are there. And then what has in the past been a high-risk industry classification, such as construction, those facilities less so are being visited, but are still being prompted, sometimes virtually and remotely, to provide information if there was a triggering event. Now, another thing important, that video that I shared with you, it's demonstrated there are two arms of OSHA, one focused on enforcement and another one focused on support. I'm going to emphasize at the end of this presentation how you can get additional resources directly from OSHA, which also can insulate you from perhaps violations because you reach out and ask for help and utilize that help. So let's get back into COVID a little bit. Current situation around the nation, and indeed there in Nevada, is that COVID is spiking, and many of the businesses that have opened up are now being shut back down, or at least reeled in as far as how they're conducting their business. As we felt maybe generally that things went a little too fast and too far as far as liberating some of the restrictions that are in there, it's also, there's a cry and kind of an interest to see that regulatory bodies such as OSHA are truly doing their job. But nonetheless, OSHA themselves have offices that are closed. They're not inviting people to come by for some of the resources and trainings, for instance, that they currently offer, or even conduct more formal meetings such as settlements and contested kind of things in their offices. They're trying to do that virtually. So inspections are limited. They're not just randomly running around. They're focused on the high-risk industries, such as the hospitals that I mentioned. And they're also limiting their conduct to be targeted for certain things, not just anything. When it comes to violations themselves, there's a process in play that OSHA inspectors are to share their findings and vet those findings and make sure they meet certain criteria, which I'll share here in a moment. So how does this relate to you? Well, number one, you probably are not going to see OSHA if you're not one of those high-risk businesses. And you may not see OSHA if you're not receiving any complaints because you have processes in place. So what's important for you is that if you should have a visit, that you already know what they're going to do, what they're going to ask for, and that you can demonstrate that you have everything in place. So one of the things you might do is ask them why they're there. They might very well tell you what that targeted interest is. They're here because of a complaint and they need to investigate the complaint itself. They're not just there for anything and everything. And that can help you put you at ease, as well as help you get ready for how to handle it from there. If you're talking face-to-face with an inspector, I encourage people to stop work. Don't just continue on, but let's stop and allow for us to kind of reset what may or may not be acceptable. Also, if you have someone taking notes and pictures, it's always a good idea to do that yourself. Have a host that is handling the inspector, interacting with the inspector, and walk them through the process. And if they take a picture, you take a picture. If they have a question, certainly be courteous and answer it, but write down what that question was and how you answered it. If there are ultimately in the end of such a meeting any kind of findings discussed, obviously one of the things you might do is, if it has to do with a violation, is correct it right away. And if the inspector should wish to interview an employee, offer that can be arranged, but employees themselves have a right to refuse to engage in such a way. And maybe all you do is give them the phone number, the employee the phone number, if they should elect to want to interview with OSHA. So the criteria, the protocol that needs to occur in a injury illness prevention program, and indeed in regards to COVID, is you want to prevent any exposures, you want to prevent any injuries, and then you want to have a process on how you do that, and that would be an operational procedure. Employees need to be trained, and you have to watch them and make sure that they are upholding and have the discipline to do those things that you've asked them to do. Ultimately, if they're not meeting the expectations, that should be documented as well. And the reason for all this documentation is to demonstrate you've done your due diligence as an employer and as a business, perhaps serving the public. If there is a need where someone has a disciplinary issue, that likewise should be recorded somewhere. You want to make sure that the COVID practices are visible and reinforced with signage and posters, and perhaps these trainings or on-the-job meetings that you have to orient people is also something that you can capture and demonstrate to others you've done. With regards to the violations themselves, OSHA is inspectors must meet 4 criteria. They have to demonstrate that the employers failed to do something that would have been recognizing the hazard. And in this case, we're talking about COVID. Do we have people wearing masks? Do we have wash stations? Do we have signage in place? All these things need to demonstrate that you have such a process. And you recognize the hazard, and you've done everything feasible to avoid that hazard, including educating all of your people and seeing that that practice has been done. These are defenses listed here for a typical violation. These are the kind of things that can happen. Employee misconduct. Perhaps you have an employee that doesn't like to wear a mask, or perhaps has some social political concern about participating, and COVID's a hoax. Whatever their personal beliefs are, obviously they need to follow your direction. There's the impossibility defense. For instance, if there's an operation where you could not have into practice one of the expectations met, you probably should get a hold of OSHA in advance and maybe work through those kind of things. And likewise, the greater hazard. In other words, if I did this, it creates a greater hazard. I know some people have talked about masks, and that very well may be true. Perhaps you have somebody with a respiratory condition or anxiety condition about wearing masks. There are alternatives. So try to make sure that those are explored in advance and not just ignored. Ultimately, when it comes to working with an authority like OSHA or any other authority, cooperation is the idea. They have an interest to see that people are safe in the workplace, and they're not out there to just generate revenue, as some people might propose. So they invite that cooperation, have them take a look at what you're doing, be proud of what you're doing, but as I say, understand specifically what they want to begin with, if you can. So to kind of pull it together, there is an easy way to learn this. You don't have to learn the hard way like I've done so many times in my life. One of the things you could do is reach out to OSHA. There locally, they have a program called SCATs. And I have a short video on SCATs that might be of interest. So I'm going to play that here right now.
The city of Henderson is the second largest city in Nevada. As far as employees, we're over 1,800 employees here in the city, over 100 facilities. around the valley. Our job, we have 2 safety officers and myself as the safety manager. We split up different divisions and we specialize in it for maybe fire, police, public works, parks and recreation. Each one of us focuses on what our talents kind of best suit for those divisions, and then our goal is, of course, to reduce injuries in the workplace and make sure that we're regulatorily compliant. We use SCATs for quite a few things. Currently, we're going towards the Safe Partner Award. So with that, we're doing inspections all over the city for many of our facilities. So we use their inspection services and their consultation services to identify hazards in the workplace and then help us make our program better. We also use their training for a lot of city employees. They go down to their Green Valley office and they take classes to further their safety education. We identify things that maybe with another set of eyes that we hadn't noticed before, because there's a knowledge base with their staff that adds to what our knowledge base here is with our staff. But it also helps kind of to familiarize workers with consultation and maybe take some negative stereotypes they have for OSHA as a whole and make them realize that they're more of a partner. I would strongly encourage them to use safety consultation and training. I would just tell them that realize that they are separate from the enforcement side and that they bring a great benefit to you to identify hazards in the workplace. And I'd also tell them to make sure that they get familiar with the OSHA inspectors themselves as people and use their talents and kind of fill in the gaps of the knowledge that you have in your staff.
Okay, well, what I hoped you gathered from our presentation today is that you could gain confidence by doing. That is, making sure that you're aware of expectations from a regulatory standpoint, is having those masks be worn, having workstations, wash stations in place, gloves, PPE, all the things that you need as far as facility, have those present. Also make sure that your staff is trained and make sure that if and when you should have a visit from an OSHA official, that you welcome them in, but you have a host that is oriented to help them through the targeted interest that they likely have. The likelihood of getting a violation is so very remote right now with the fact that they're out there trying to encourage people to do the right things. And that, of course, is how I'd like to end it for our presentation today, that, you know, you can do all the right things. Just reach out and ask for help. Certainly, I provide my phone number here. My associate, Farah, who set this up for today, and naturally, those resources, if you'd like to take another step, such as to SCATs or other OSHA resources, be glad to help you with that. I want to remind you all, I forgot, with regards to SCATs, the office is closed, but you can call them and they still have on their website resources available, such as posters and things of that nature. Anyway, with that, I wish to thank everyone and I'll pass it back.
All right. Sean, I really appreciate all the information that you shared with us today. That was really informative. I don't have any questions, but I am going to remind our audience today that if you have any questions, please feel free to put them down in the Q&A section, and we'll be able to read through just to make sure that there's anything that maybe Sean didn't cover for today, or you've got a burning question that you just probably need an answer to. So I'll give it over a couple of minutes for that. While we're waiting for questions to come in, Sean, again, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate that information that you shared with us. I do have a couple of housekeeping items. We forgot to let you guys know that we were going to have a special drawing. And so we'll give it another minute or two and then we'll circle back for that because somebody's a lucky winner today. Coming up next month for our webinar series is we are having a cybersecurity consultant from Cox Communication joining us. So it's going to be Dylan Bertus, hopefully I didn't say his name incorrectly, Director of Solutions Engineering at Rapid Scale, which is a Cox business company. So he will be joining us for cybersecurity meetings and updates next month. One of the other things that I don't have on my slide, but I want to go ahead and put in there, is a congratulations to the City of Henderson. If you had joined us or joined BOMA International for the virtual annual conference a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that City of Henderson won again an international award for Whitney Ranch Recreation Center in Henderson. So congratulations to Troy and his team there. You guys did a fabulous job. It is the second year for a different property for City of Henderson. So good job to Troy and again his team there. And you'll see up on the slide right now that we are having a special event. And I see that we already have people that went out today as a posting. I think we already have about 20 people signed up. It is a Wind Down Wednesday. So we want you to join us for a virtual wine tasting on Wednesday, August 19th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. It is limited spacing. It's definitely an opportunity for principal members, and also if you're not a principal but a member already, you'll be able to join us too. But like I said, pass the word because the slots are limited, and we'll need to have your RSVP by August 5th for this event. So it's really kind of cool. It's a flight of wine tasting, and then they'll have some things that they'll tell you to kind of prep and prepare to do the tasting with. So I'm kind of excited for that event. So thank you to Farrakar and Lisa Riggs and Tasha Blackburn for putting that event together for us. So, and as you can see, we've already got some sponsors there for that. So I'm still saying I don't have any other questions in our Q&A session for today. So, but I just want to remind everyone, if you have anything that you see on social media or that's interesting, be sure to tag us either at IMBOMA Nevada or hashtag commercial PM at, we're on Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn now. We actually have postings there also. So definitely want to hear from you if there's anything that you think that we need to be passing on to the rest of the membership. And look for updates from us. And on our next slide, just want to remind you, COVID-19, I know guys, we're kind of a couple months in and keep thinking we're going to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but our COVID-19 resource page is still available on our BOMA Nevada website, so at bomanevada.org. If you're looking for resources on information on how to clean a property, how to return to work, and what are the steps that you need, please reach out there and take a look. And if there's something that you don't see but you still do have a burning question, put it on our property manager best practice forum, and we'll definitely get back to you as quick as we can to share that information with you. So with that, I don't think I have any other updates for this month, but I want to just, again, thank you for your time today. I know it's very precious, and but we're definitely appreciative of the time that you spent with us. So when you're checking out today, please take our survey. It's going to ask you if you found today's information informative, and if you have any other topics that you want us to discuss, we can do that. And before you check out, I think Julie said she is having trouble. Yes, she is. Julie's having trouble getting back on to make that announcement. So we have our winner. Hold on 1 second. For a prize, Alicia Luce with Lincoln Harris is our winner of a prize today from RBM. So Alicia, congratulations, and I'll be looking for Julie to reach out to you today. With that, again, thank you all for joining today, and be sure to join us again next month. Have a great afternoon. Goodbye.